Recall that when dealing with fractions, the fraction bar is actually the operation division, meaning that we can use long division to change fractions into decimals. So for example, looking at this first example, 3/8 really means 3 divided by 8. And setting that up using long division, we would write 3 divided by 8. Remember, the first number is the number that goes in the box. But looking at that, 8 does not go into 3. So we do want to tack on a 0.0. Oops. So that we can have a number that 8 goes into. 8 does go into 30. When we do that, though, we have to make sure that the decimal point is lined up in our answer, or the quotient. So we have to shoot that decimal point directly up into our answer, or our quotient. Now, if the quotient stops or ends with a 0, we call that a terminating decimal. And if the quotient doesn't stop or it repeats with some kind of pattern, we call that a repeating decimal. When we get a repeating decimal, we want to write our answer using bar notation. So coming back down here to our example, let's start solving this using long division. 8 did not go into 3. It goes in 0 times, but 8 does go into 30 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract and get 6. Bring down a 0. You can write one in there. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Subtract and get 4. Write in another 0 and bring it down. 8 goes into 40 5 times, and that's exact because 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract and get 0, and that's it. So our final answer is 0.375. So that is 3/8 as a decimal. The next fraction that we have that we're going to turn into a decimal is 11/6. And you might recognize that this is an improper fraction because the numerator 11 is greater than the denominator 6. And you can actually convert this to a mixed number. Hopefully you remember how to convert that. 11/6 is actually 1 5/6 because 6 goes into 11 one time with 5 left over. So we can work with the fraction 11/6, or you can work with the mixed number 1 5/6. It's really up to you. I'm just going to keep the 11/6 and work with that. So again, we'll set up our long division. 11/6 is really 11 divided by 6. And this is the long division that we're going to work with. So 6 actually does go into 11. It goes in one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract and get 5. Make sure you tack on the decimal point, 11.0, and bring down that 0 to make it 50. Carry that decimal point up to the divisor, or to the quotient. 6 goes into 50 8 times. And 8 times 6 is 48. Subtract and get 2. Bring down a 0. 6 goes into 20. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract and get 2. Bring down a 0. 6 goes into 20 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract and get 2. Tack on a 0. Bring it down. 6 goes into 20 3 times. Hopefully you're noticing a pattern happening. We could continue, but hopefully you realize that 3 is going to keep repeating, meaning that this is a repeating decimal, 1.833333, which we can write using bar notation. The bar does only need to go over top of the 3 because that's the only number repeating. Moving on to our next example, 6 and 2/25, which is a mixed number. We talked about this in the last example. We could turn it into an improper fraction, but that's not necessary. The way that we're going to do this example is just convert the 2/25 into a decimal and just tack it onto the 6. So 2/25 is 2 divided by 25, which we can set up using long division. 2 divided by 25. And 25 does not go into 2. It goes into 2 0 times. So we're going to have to tack on that decimal point and make it 2.0. Move it up to the answer. 25 also goes into 20 0 times. So we're going to have to tack on another 0 to make it 200, which 25 does go into. 25 goes into 200 8 times. If you think about it, it's 25, 50, 75, 100, and so on. So 8 times 25 is actually 200. Subtracting it 0. So the decimal for 2/25 is just 0.08. So we would write our answer as 6.08. And our last example, I do want you to try by yourself. So pause the video here and try to use long division for 1 divided by 9. After solving it, you should see that you got a repeating decimal. It's 0.11111. That 1 is going to continue to repeat, and we can write our answer using bar notation. 0.1 with the bar over the 1 because the 1 is repeating and go on forever. So there it is. That is how you convert fractions into decimals.